Hi guys, welcome to our daily encounter. Once again, we look at John chapter 11, and this time we look at the moment after Lazarus was risen from the dead. And after he was risen from the dead, we find that he still had on his grave clothes. After Jesus says, Lazarus, come forth, it says in verse 44 of John 11, the man who had died came forth, bound hand and foot with wrappings, and his face was wrapped around with a cloth. Jesus said to them, unbind him and let him go. It wasn't just enough for Lazarus to be risen from the dead. He also needed to be unbound. He needed to take off those strips of cloth that were binding him and keeping him from moving freely. He needed to take off the grave clothes. And if we think about it in the context of our spiritual lives, that can be true for us as well. Now, we too have experienced resurrection life through Jesus Christ. We have all experienced a spiritual resurrection. Or once we were dead in our trespasses and sins, God made us alive together with Christ, as Ephesians chapter 2 talks about. And we have received resurrection life. We're no longer dead to God, but alive to God. And we have been raised to walk in newness of life. However, it might be the case that we haven't quite yet taken off our grave clothes. In other words, we still have those old strips of cloth that are binding us and keeping us from moving freely in the new life that Christ has given us. It might very well be that old sins and old habits, the flesh, all these different things, personality flaws perhaps that we have, all these things that keep drawing us back into the condition of death and still cause us to have the appearance of death on the outside. These things need to be stripped away. We need to walk in the new life that Christ has given us and to have those grave clothes taken off and put on the clothes of life, to begin to walk into the life that Christ has given us. And we do this by setting our mind on the Spirit and setting our mind on heavenly things, by walking according to the new man that is created in Christ Jesus, as the book of Ephesians talks about. It's about really accepting who we are in Christ and by faith living in that new reality. Otherwise, the old self, the old grave clothes are going to continue to bind us and keep us from living that life that God has called us to live. So today, let's go to the Lord in prayer and say, Lord, help me to strip off my grave clothes. Help me to put on new garments, the garments that have been supplied to me through Jesus Christ. Help me to move freely about living a life of righteousness, of truth, of love, so that I can express you in my life and that I can be able to have the life that is in me fully be expressed in my day-to-day living. And if we can do that, we'll bring much glory to the Father, and we definitely will be living the life that we have been called to live. So these are some things we can reflect on and think about as we do a reading today. With that, guys, I do thank you for watching the video today. Hope you guys have a great day. Love you guys. God bless.